Hello, Sarah. Um, I would like to first congratulate you on how you were successful in motivating that one child in your second grade and help him overcome his shyness. Um, that must be very satisfying, and I'm very happy for you. Those are the, perks of being a teacher. It's very fulfilling. So you have asked some very insightful questions, which I would like to address. So your first question was about how I could create a positive, supportive learning environment. So I would definitely like to share some of the strategies that we use in our classroom. But first of all, I would like to mention here that the most important thing is to develop an atmosphere of mutual respect. That is very important. And the ground rules need to be laid down right from the beginning of the school year. So the teachers need to teach the students how they're going to behave with their peers, and develop a sense of empathy for each other so that it creates a positive environment. That's very important. Secondly, I believe that constructive feedback is very important. And then, the third most important thing is to encourage open communication. Now, clear and open communication, while we're talking about that, I would also like to give an example of one of the strategies that we used was a success criteria that we introduced in the beginning of every lesson, because our curriculum was an IB curriculum, and I was teaching grade 1. So we would have this criteria which used the thumbs up for, I can be successful if I can write 3 sentences about a character of a story. I'm working towards being successful would be signed by a thumbs sideways, and a thumbs down if the directions aren't clear to me, or I don't know what I'm working towards, or I need the teacher's help. So this would be used in the beginning of the lesson as a means to share the objectives, and then it would also be used at the end of the lesson for the student's self-evaluation. So at the end we would ask them again, how do you feel now? Do you feel thumbs up, sideways, or down? So I think that was very effective in creating a positive environment where students felt, that they owned their learning, and they knew what was expected of them. So that's something. Another thing is that the teacher needs to know what is the temperature of her classroom. I usually say that because in terms of social emotional well-being of the students, the teacher has to be aware of which child is having a moment today, who has had some kind of trauma, who's feeling traumatized, and be able to identify, so the students learn to identify their emotions and then find a way to overcome them and regulate them. So for that, we used to use something called a mood meter. I'm sure most of you would have heard of it. It's like a 4-quadrant graph in which you place the emotions, like happy, one quadrant, you have sad in the other quadrant, you have excited, and then you have worried. So children would come in the morning and they would place their emojis with their names in the different quadrants, and the teacher would cater to that, and she would see that if there's somebody who really needs some kind of help or like support emotionally, that would really create a positive environment, because the students learn to empathize with each other, that if a peer is not feeling well, then they could help them regulate their emotions. So that creates an environment which fosters positive attitudes and basically emotional intelligence. So we used to do that. That was one thing we did. So these are, I think, 2 major things that we could. So that answers the first question. Your second question was about Um, what role does group work play in my teaching? So I think group work is the backbone of instruction, and it is very important to use it in our teaching. Um, it basically promotes collaboration. It enhances problem solving skills, when they work together. Group work would ensure that students learn from each other's strengths as well. So these are a few things that can be achieved, but having said that, group work has to be structured. It cannot be where children are still struggling to find who, like you said, they should know their roles. They should be assigned the roles. So to assign the roles, what I would usually do was we would use color-coded papers, or we would number them, and the children would pick one, and each one would be associated with a role in the group, and the task would be written on it, the task that they had to perform in that role. So that kind of overcame the issues of who's going to do what. So that is very important. So unless it is structured, your instructions are clear, the roles are assigned, and you make sure that each and every child is participating, group work will not be effective. So yes, it requires a lot of meticulous planning, and then of course we have to ensure that at the end of the group work, we do come back as a class for closure, for a wrap up, where we discuss and we give feedback to each other, between teacher and student and the peers as well. So that is very important, and it creates a great impact on the students' learning. Your third question was, how would I motivate shy students? So to do that, first of all, you have to create a safe environment where they feel safe. You're not judgmental. Like you also mentioned that, you have to praise them, verbally praise them in front of everybody, so that, it boosts their self-esteem. And then gradually, you don't push them, but you gradually let them gain confidence to, appear in front of the class and discuss their ideas. Another thing is that I would always, in my classroom, I would give them more choices to represent their learning. So if they don't want to speak, they could use drawing, they could use writing down their responses, and in a non-threatening way, whichever way they prefer, whichever way suits their learning styles. We could also use digital tools, like we could have, I'm recently learning how to use Padlet and various tools where children can actually have a discussion, a discussion board about a character of a story, for example, and everybody shares their ideas, they illustrate, and then they give each other feedback. So just the way we do. So that really would help them, the shy learners, to come out and explain what they've learned or what they have to say about something. So that would help. So you also asked what it would be like being a shy student and what impact that had on me. I was not a shy student, but yes, speaking publicly is somewhat a struggle for everyone, at a certain age especially. So again, I would give plenty of opportunities for them to, quietly reflect upon their thoughts. Give them response time. Don't push them and, make them hurry, So give them some time. Be patient. And then, of course, one, I think, very important thing is to have small discussions in smaller groups where they feel more comfortable, and then move on to a bigger group where, they become confident, and then they can share their ideas. So these are some of the things that I think are maybe useful for overcoming their shyness. So thank you so much for listening to me, and it was great to learn your practices, and I hope to hear from you soon. Thank you. Bye.